Sanjeev Bikhchandani, who was recently awarded by the Padma Shri, the highest civilian award in India. He was probably the one who initiated the entire .com revolution in India.
Great bonding that was there with all my friends. No matter who they were, no matter where they're from, given the financial circumstances of the family, there wasn't a lot of money. And said to myself, why do I want to be an engineer? If you want to do an MBA, my recommendation to you is to not do it straight after college. Work towards first and then do it. In that medical test, I discovered that I was partially colorblind.
Hello listeners, welcome to another edition of this series of podcasts called Courage Talks. Courage Talks is inspired by my own book, Against All Odds, which is my father's biography. And when I was narrating my father's story, I realized there were many acts of courage, which he, despite being a simple person, might not be known to many people. And in this series, today I have a special guest with me, Sanjeev Bikhchandani, who was recently awarded by the Padma Shri, the highest civilian award in India, here to talk about his own experiences with courage. For the listeners who might not be familiar, Sanjeev Bikhchandani is the father of entrepreneurship in India. After his BA from St. Stephen's and doing his MBA from IIMA Ahmedabad, he went on an entrepreneurial journey and created great companies like InfoEdge, Naukri, 99 Acres, Jeevan Sathi. He was probably the one who initiated the entire .com revolution in India when people in India were not even having a normal internet access. He created a company and took it to great heights. When the chance came for being a part of entrepreneur journey for other startups, he invested in companies like Policy Bazaar and Zomato very early, recognized the potential for these businesses. And today he's a great advisor and mentor for startups, apart from being influential for many other startups. Welcome, Sanjeev, sir. Pleasure to have you on Courage Talks.
Thank you so much, Peter. I'm a little intimidated by the title of this series, Courage Talks. I'm not sure I have demonstrated a lot of courage. Certainly not physical courage, certainly not a situation where my own life was in danger, but yeah, we can have a conversation.
Thanks a lot, sir. So courage is very simple, right? So something standard, regular run-of-the-mill work for you can be courage for someone else. So when I talk about courage, when I mention courage, what strikes you? What is your definition of courage?
There's physical courage, of course, where you're facing physical adversity, whether you are in the armed forces or you're in the police or you're a peacekeeper, where very often you're called to demonstrate physical courage. Of course, behind physical courage, there's mental courage. Because you can't really be brave unless you're brave in the head.
Yeah.
Right? And then there is other forms of courage when you find yourself in adverse financial circumstances and still you fight it and come out. When you have a choice, but you choose a more difficult choice because you want to achieve something, and you choose a more difficult path, that's another form of courage. But look, I think real courage is when your life is in danger, but it's your job to do something and you go and do it.
Great. Thanks a lot, sir. And courage is something which, unfortunately, we don't get taught in school, right? It is something which is inborn. And many times courage, the first instance of courage which we learn is through our role models. So anyone as a role model which you would want to identify, someone who has inspired you. I know there are thousands of people who look up at you for a source of courage and inspiration, but whom do you look up at?
I don't really have a role model. I never had one, but I have learned different things from different people, different things from different stories. Very often people I have never met, just heard of, read about, people have told me about. But when I look back to India's freedom struggle, I was born in 1963, so way after independence. But when I look back to those who fought for independence, right, very often they were highly educated, sometimes educated overseas. Very often they had a choice to pursue a financially lucrative career, let's say in law. Right? Many of our leaders in that era were lawyers, qualified lawyers. And if they had stayed with being practicing lawyers, they would have done very well financially. Yet there was a higher cause that motivated them to sacrifice their careers and join the independence movement. And very often go to jail, sometimes for years, and still come out and fight for independence. I count that as very courageous.
Very true. Very well said, sir. I think there is nothing bigger, no bigger courageous act than to serve the nation. And to serve that with the kind of sacrifices which our leaders have done is definitely a great example. Sir, we know you from the time that we know you in corporate world, but we don't know much about your childhood. Take us back down memory lane. How was childhood for you? Where did you grow up? What kind of environment that you grew up in? I'm sure there would be instances of courage which you would have observed at that time as well.
So, my father was a doctor in the government, CGHS, and my mother is a homemaker. And so we grew up in government colonies in Delhi, Satyamarg, Chanakyapuri, Kidwai Nagar, essentially government colonies. And it's a very cosmopolitan experience because in these government colonies, you had people from all over India, all castes, all communities, all regions, right? And therefore, it was this, great bonding that was there with all my friends, no matter who they were, no matter where they're from. And we were from roughly similar, economic backgrounds because everybody is a government servant.
Yeah.
Right. So it was a shared collective experience growing up. And I think those were the happiest years of my life. Growing up, with in a community of friends, who many of whom remain friends even now.
Right. It's very inspiring that you came from a background which was not opulent, which was not rich. You had to live within limited means. And when we live within limited means, we see sacrifices day in and day out, right? Any instances of sacrifice or anything which was missing in your life, which you observed, how your parents tried to adjust with it? How did they make you adjust to that lifestyle?
Given the financial circumstances of the family, there wasn't a lot of money. It was enough to get by. But, we weren't poor. But, there wasn't a lot of money. So, one just was told that these are constraints and one just accepted it. Right? So now, if you were sacrificing, I didn't know it. Right? I was just said, this is our lot and this is it. And now study hard. Move ahead.
Yeah. Never did your dad narrate a story about his struggles or anything of that sort, anything which strikes you?
Well, no, he would talk about how... so my father came from a not very well-off background. And my mother family was slightly better off financially. Both families migrated to India, now partition, and from Sindh. Right. And they had arranged marriage afterwards in 1952, post-partition in Delhi. Obviously, my father's side of the family, they were making a new beginning. They started life living in tents, on others, they restarted life living in tents in the refugee camp in what is now Patel Nagar.
Yeah.
My father had done very well academically in school and in Sindh and Karachi. And therefore, he got a scholarship to study medicine in Dow Medical College in Karachi. But when partition happened, he came to India and got transferred on a government scholarship to Visakhapatnam Medical College in India, and then took a transfer to Agra Medical College. Okay. So he come up the hard way on government scholarships. My grandfather couldn't afford to pay the fees, so he needed the scholarship, and the government of India was kind enough to give him that scholarship.
Yes.
And when he finished medical college, he did the next safest thing, having come from modest financial circumstances. And then having gone through the trauma of partition, he did the next safest thing. He applied for and obtained a job in the government.
Mm-hmm.
And he stayed there till he retired. So that was the financial circumstances in which we were brought up. So were there sacrifices? There obviously must have been. It's just that I didn't know about it.
Okay. Yeah. No, I think it's more on your parents' part to, make you feel comfortable despite all the sacrifice they were making, right? Make you feel happy, right? Make you feel within the limits, right? I mean, many times हम लोग बचपन में सुनते आते हैं, kids are looking at other kids and feeling sad that he has that, I don't have that, which needs.
No, there was some of that, but you see, I'd gone to a school where a large number of the other boys, I went to all boys school in Delhi,
right,
were from similar economic backgrounds.
Okay.
So it's not as if there were a bunch of guys, who would come to school being driven in a Mercedes Benz. Right? We all came to school by school bus and went home by school bus.
Right.
Okay? There was no traffic jam of cars outside the school. So in that sense, there wasn't that much ostensible disparity among the students. There were some, obviously.
Okay.
And there were some people who were slightly better off.
Right.
But, the differences would be limited to, hey, he's got a fancy imported pencil box and I've got a local one I've got to make last for 3 years. And he gets a new one every year. And he's got a scented rubber, which, eraser, which costs 75 paise. Well, I have got a regular unscented eraser, which costs 10 paise. Those are the kind of differences that, nothing more than that.
Correct. And so moving on from Forcell, if we look at, courage, it's not physical and mental courage. When you go into the workplace, it's like Zindagi har din ek nayi jang hai, right? You have new challenges and new environments. And for someone like you who took up the bold step of entrepreneurship when you could have, happily had a great MNC job for a very long time, I'm sure there would be many instances where you observed courage in form of tough decisions, in terms of targets, executing tough projects, fighting, natural calamities, or fighting situations which are, onboarded by the government for whatever reason. Right? So, would you share some instances from your work life?
I'll give you some decisions that I took along the way when I had choices.
Sure.
So the first decision was as early as post class 11.
Okay.
So I went to a school where it was tough on discipline, all boys school. It was very big on academics, right? We used to get caned if we didn't do our homework. It was corporal punishment. And that took courage, by the way, to sort of live with the risk of corporal punishment every now and then, right? But it was a school where all good boys did science, or most good boys did science. And then if you did science in class 11 and 12, you either tried for the IIT entrance or the medical entrance, but mostly the IIT entrance. Medical were fewer boys. So the done thing was you try for IIT entrance. Like other people, I also studied for the IIT entrance. Now, in those days, the country was switching over from class 11 to class 12. And different states were switching in different years over a 3-year window. Right? Now, in order to make it equal across the states, the various states, the IIT people had said, you can write the exam after class 11, even if you're not class 12 pass.
Okay.
Even if in your state, the school leaving exam is after class 12, you can still write it after class 11 and get it. That way it is equal across states. Right. So you know how it is, right? You try after class 11, save a year, get ahead, peer pressure, teacher pressure, parental expectations, and so on and so forth. So we all studied hard and we all wrote that exam after class 11. Now, as luck would have it, I qualified. But when I went for my counseling, IIT में counseling होती है before you join. And as part of the counseling, you go through a medical test. In that medical test, I discovered that I was partially colorblind.
Oh.
So the doctor says, son, it's okay, you can join. Maybe some careers and some departments might be close to you and it'll go down in a permanent medical record, but by and large, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, for the first time, I stand up and thought. Up until then, it was a no-brainer. Write the IIT entrance, if you work hard and you're good enough, you qualify. If you qualify, you go. No questions asked. Others from my school were going. But for the first time, I sat and thought. And I said, listen, if something goes wrong and I have to drop out of IIT after 2 years, right? I won't even be class 12 pass. Right?
Yeah.
And I said, what will I do then? Right? Now, what was happening was that mine was the last year when you could write it after class 11. Because by now, the whole country was switching over to class 12.
Right.
Right? So IIT was becoming a 4-year course the next year from a 5-year course earlier. I kind of figured that, look, all the good guys from my batch are already gone because they don't have class 11. My junior batch can't write it because they have to finish class 12. It's becoming a 4-year course, so I won't lose a year.
Yeah.
So I said, why don't I not join IIT, continue class 1 and write the exam again next year?
Right.
Now this for me was a courageous decision.
Very
Like, you don't, it's also perhaps a stupid decision. I don't know. But I applied some logic and I took this call. Right? In that 1 year of class 12, I sat and thought and said to myself, why do I want to be an engineer?
Okay.
But I had never asked myself the question earlier. I was just becoming an engineer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When I thought about it, I said, listen, I don't really know what an engineer does. I don't really know what engineering is. So I don't know if I like it. I don't know if I want to be an engineer. I just want to be an IITian. Right? It's a tribe. I'm running a club. Yeah. I want that label. I want that brand.
The herd mentality, yeah.
And I'm doing it because my friends are doing it, because my teachers expect it, because you get a brand of, quality.
Yeah.
On your CV. And when that realization dawned, it was like the penny dropped. I wrote the exam again. I got in the second time, but I also got into St. Stephen's College for economics.
Wow.
And I said, this is a 3-year course. ये भी brand है. 4 साल का course है, वो भी brand है. I don't know much about engineering. I know nothing about economics. So why should I spend 4 years doing something I don't know anything about when I can spend 3 years doing something I don't know anything about?
Sure.
And I took the decision then to not join IIT for the second time. And I went to St. Stephen's to study economics, which, by any logic at that time, was a fairly strange decision. I won't even say courageous. Okay, I didn't worry. So, was I stupid? Was I courageous? I don't know. Maybe I was stupid. So, yeah, St. Stephen's, right? And I remember my brother. He was 7 years older than me. In the same school. And he went to IIT Kanpur, then he went to IIMA Ahmedabad. And after 1 year of working in industry, he quit and said, this life is not for me. And he went to the US to do his PhD.
Very interesting.
So, 1981, I finished school. In 1981, he left for the US. There were 4 or 5 of his friends who did the same thing. IIT, IIMA, and didn't like the corporate sector. And went to the US for the PhD from the same year, 1981. And they had all come to Delhi for the visa interview, all the visa interview on the same day. Right? So they'd come to our house for lunch after the visa interview.
Okay.
And I was talking to them. I had just begun college. I was talking to them. This was August, September, 1981. I was talking to them and I asked them, what's with you guys? I mean, you went to IIMA, you're getting great salaries and these great jobs. I mean, why are you quitting? And this guy took me aside. So my brother's friend says, look, we made a mistake. The mistake we made was that we did our MBA straight after engineering college.
Okay.
So it was an extension of college. We didn't know what work life would be after that.
Yeah.
So we don't like the work we're doing. So we want to do PhDs. We love the subjects we're studying. We don't like the workplace. And then he told me that if you want to do an MBA, my recommendation to you is to not do it straight after college, work for 2 years and then do it. I think this was a really good piece of advice.
Yeah.
And he said that the best business schools in the world, which are in the US, they insist on a few years of work experience.
Right.
Before they admit you to business school. And they do that for a reason. The reason is that you will learn a lot more from your MBA if you can relate it to the real world, which means if you got some 2, 3, 4 years of experience, you'll gain more from your MBA. So my advice to you is to, if you want to do an MBA, understand what work is like in the corporate sector, get a job, and then do an MBA. But this stayed with me. And as luck would have it, after college, I got a job and I qualified for admission to IIM Calcutta at the same time. Now, dilemma again.
Yeah.
There's no guarantee I'll get the second time.
It's a happy problem to have.
But I'm not sure. You see, if you say no to IIM, then you don't get in when you try 2 years later, 3 years later.
Yeah.
Then you took a wrong call, maybe. Anyhow, I thought about it for a couple of months and I decided I'll start work.
Okay.
Right? So I joined Lintas, which is an ad agency. The first year in Delhi, then 2 years in Bombay. Delhi was home, so I was living at home with my parents. And the salary then was essentially pocket money. Right?
Yeah, true.
Because I would get my food and I would get a place to stay, no rent, and it becomes pocket money. The salary wasn't a lot. It was 1,500 rupees a month. So after PF and deduction, it was about a little less than 1,400 rupees a month.
Okay.
But 1,400 rupees pocket money in Delhi in 1984 was decent.
And some money.
Because it was, earlier I was getting zero, or maybe 100 rupees or 200 rupees from my parents. Suddenly at much better savings, I was very happy.
Very very special.
So however, 1 year later, I was transferred to Bombay. And I was given an increment of 300 rupees. Now, Bombay in 1,800 rupees in 1985, it was impossible to survive. It was very difficult financially.
Yeah.
Right, so you used to have vada pav at Churchgate station for breakfast for 5 rupees. I used to have Maggi noodles at 2 rupees for dinner. And I would have lunch for 10 rupees in the office.
Wow.
So for total of 20 rupees you were eating.
Yeah.
That's 600 rupees gone, 1/3 your salary.
Seriously.
And you're living very frugally.
Yeah.
There's rent, there's cost of commuting.
Yeah.
And before you knew it, your money was gone. Right?
Okay.
So it was difficult financially. And at that time I thought, should I have gone to IIM instead of, I would have got 3x the salary after IIM. Right?
Yeah.
But then I figured, no, it's okay, I'll rough it out. I'll manage somehow. And I'll go to IIM after. Work 2 or 3 years. Right? I'd planned to work for 2 years. But I was not in touch with anybody else who was writing the IIM entrance, the CAT.
Okay.
Because they're out of the circuit, right? I'm working in Bombay.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody who's writing the CAT in Bombay. I'm not in touch with college students. So, as luck would have it, the day the advertisement for the CAT came out, that morning, I was on a flight from Bombay to Madras. It was called Madras those days. And I missed the ad.
Oh.
Because I missed the ad, I missed a year.
Oh.
Because by the time I realized the ad was over, 1 month had passed. So I ended up working for 3 years there. I had planned to work for 2.
Right.
Carelessness, stupidity, not courage. Right? But it's fine. I spent a year extra. I worked.
Became 1 year wiser.
Yeah, 1 year wiser, 1 year older, whatever you want to call it. I mean, I wrote the CAT again.
Okay.
And it's difficult. Now, my working hours were very punishing. I was working 12 working hours a day. I was traveling on shoots, on a particular assignment, all over India. Right? In those days, there was no CAT coaching classes the way you have today.
Right.
You got material and you studied it.
Yeah.
So I got on study materials and I would take them with me on my travels. I would coordinate the shoot. And while the photographer was taking the shot, I'd slash 25 minutes away in the car and do one math section, the balance guide to the GMAT. And that's how I prepared.
Wow.
Right. Got through again. This time got IIMA Ahmedabad. And I went and joined. Post IIMA, I joined a company called HMM, which is a Horlicks company. I was in consumer marketing. And I was working on the brand Horlicks. I quit that in a year and a half and became an entrepreneur. Now that was again, at that time, it's to be a very brave thing to do because, I'm from a background, middle class background, government family. I am used to that salary check. Nobody in the house has done business ever. So I want that salary check. And I worked hard to it.
Yeah.
But eventually, I decided that, I must have the courage to quit. Then I did an incredibly stupid thing. I had a total savings of 68,000 rupees in my bank account just before I quit. My annual take-home salary then was 66,000 rupees a month. So I had almost exactly 1 year's salary.
Yeah.
Now, I was nervous as hell. Because I said, what if I fail? What if the company doesn't work? How do I last out beyond a year?
Yeah.
We'll have to go back to a job. Besti ho jayegi.
Yeah.
You can't admit failure. Right? So I was wondering what to do. A friend of mine. So in those days, there was no national stock exchange. There was no electronic trading. It was all, there was some 17 or 20 stock exchanges around the country. Manual shares holding.
Yeah.
No demat accounts. Nothing. No SEBI. I mean, SEBI had just been formed, but there was no SEBI Act yet. Okay, so it was fair. I had never invested in the stock market in my life. A friend of mine told me, give me what looked like a really easy way to get rich. So in those days, you invested on tips and rumors and whatever.
Yeah. Some people still do that.
Yeah. So friend of mine says, you know what? I have heard कि इस company का bonus issue आने वाला है and share price will double. So why don't you invest and then you double? You'll have 2 years of salary instead of 1 year.
Simple.
Yeah, that's very good, man. So I went to a friend's father. He was a sub-broker of a larger broker in the Delhi Stock Exchange. And I went to him and I said, Uncle, I have this company का bonus issue आने वाला है, share price double होगा. So I want to buy 66,000 rupees worth of this share. That's why I'll keep 2,000 reserve and, बाकी मैं डाल दूंगा. So he says, बेटा, issue आने वाला है, why didn't you buy it on forward? बदला, margin में खरीद लो. Then you will make 2x, you make 10x. So I said, man, this is so cool. So then I have 10 years of salary, post tax 6 साल तो हो जाएंगे. And then I'm comfortable. Company चल जाएगी. In 5 years, I can make a company work. Right? So I went and bought, I put 60,000 rupees in margin money. Now, the thing about buying on a tip or a rumor is that you better be at the start of the rumor. And the rumor better come true. And it gathers momentum.
Of course.
That's when the share price downs, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I learned the hard way. Then I was at the end of the rumor. The share price was already doubled. Second, the rumor turned out to be wrong. Bonus issue nahi aaya. So the share price halved. So one day, after 1 week, I get a call from my friend's father and says, Beta, now we are square. So I am down to 2,000 rupees. Now that wasn't courageous, that was stupidity. Okay?
Yeah.
So when I quit my job, I had 2,000 rupees in the bank.
Sir, company का नाम तो बता दीजिए.
It's a share called Bindal Agro.
Okay. Oh man. That's quite a story. That's quite a story.
So,
and you still had to carry on with your startup dream, right? Regardless of the fight.
also I had already put my papers there. I couldn't go back and say, I changed my mind.
Sorry, to पैसे do.
Sure. So some of the stuff is borderline stupid. Some is outright stupid.
Yeah.
Getting into IIT twice, not taking it. Getting into IIM once, not taking it. Putting my job at 2,000 rupees in the bank when there should have been 68,000 rupees, losing 68,000 rupees. So these things have happened to me. So since 1990, therefore, till 2016, for 26 years, I made up my mind that I will never ever invest in the stock market.
That's a big learning.
Okay. Because it's not my area of competence. I have no knowledge of it. I will take stupid decisions. Stay away. Just run your company. It's what you know best.
Yeah.
And that worked for me.
Very interesting. And now, of course, your portfolio companies are listed on the stock exchange.
Well, they're the company's portfolio companies. Yes, I work on. I work with them.
You know them. You know them in and out. That's true. The other element of courage is, sometimes it's not just about being able to do what you want. I mean, take a bold decision. Sometimes it's all got to do with vulnerability as well. And the society somehow doesn't allow men to express their emotions, especially not to cry. Sir, ऐसा कोई instance आप बता पाएंगे जहाँ you were in tears, you literally cried at the state which you were in?
No, I wouldn't say that, but there were difficult moments. Right? So, April 2000, we raised venture capital. We raised 7.3 crores from ICICI Venture, or 15% of the company. Immediately raised venture capital. The market went down. .com bust happened.
Yeah.
And we had committed that we would grow the company. So we had no clue how to grow the company, but we had the money in the bank. And we had made a promise. So we began to try to grow the company. अब जब आप कंपनी ग्रो करते हो पहले खर्चे बढ़ रहे हैं, तो रेवेन्यू बाद में बढ़ती है इफ एट ऑल, तो खर्चे बढ़ा दिए. Now it is pretty clear to us within 6-8 months that there is no hope of a second round of funding. This is the meltdown. Right? Almost all the venture capital firms quit the market in India. So there was a point in time when we had 16 months of money left with no hope of getting the next round. Our salary bill, just a salary bill, बाकी खर्चे छोड़ो, salary bill was 4 times our revenue, monthly salary bill. Right? I think that is where the whole team came together. And I think there are heroic effort by the sales team to pull the company out of trouble, to grow the company and simply make sales happen. And we sold our way out of trouble. But those few months were tense, very tense. Another difficult moment was when Lehman went down in 2008, was it, I think?
Yeah, 2008.
Right? So around 2009, we had, I think, two quarters of minus 25% growth YOY. Minus 25%. Right? With no light at the end of the tunnel. We'd gone public. Shareholders their expectations. We had to publish our numbers every quarter.
Yeah.
Every other company was downsizing and letting go of people. Okay? And we discussed it internally. And the board was saying, downsize, cut cost. Board has been already implemented. And we, Ritesh and I discussed and we said, listen, we are not going to sack people. Because these are our own people. These are people who pitch the company. अगर अभी निकालोगे उनको नौकरी नहीं मिलनी है, the market is very bad.
Yeah.
So this is absolutely wrong time to say. So we kept kicking the can down the road. I do believe it was the right decision, not sack people. But I also believe it was courageous because we didn't know what will happen.
Yeah.
Eventually the board said sack people. It's a directive now. 2 quarters you were seeing as law. So we came back and we said, okay, we promise you that 2 quarters. So at that time, the company's headcount was 1,800 people. And we came back and said 2 quarters from now, it'll be 1,400. We promise you. We still didn't sack people. We simply stopped replacing. We put in tougher rules for replacement and we said that unless it has the sign off of all 3 executive directors, nobody can be hired. Now, the average age in a company was 24 or 25. 55% women, right? Very often when women get married, and the husbands from different cities, they won't live in that city. They would leave the job. Now, our sales people are all selling to HR managers and placement consultants. So they get job offers very quickly. So on pure natural attrition, you were able to bring it down to 1,400 in 2 quarters without having to sack anybody.
Wow.
And the market recovered after that. And so without causing any pain or any scarring in the organization, we were able to do this. And at a time when everybody else was sacking, when the market expectation was to sack, right? We were able to resist that pressure and not sack people.
Wow.
The same thing happened in 2020.
Okay.
When COVID, March 24th, there was a lockdown. April, June, Naukri billings grew minus 44% YOY. Serious problems. We just spoke to the CFO and we asked him, we said, Chintan, just stress test the P&L and balance sheet. Supposing revenue goes to zero, not growth, revenue goes to zero, marketing expenditure goes to zero, and we don't give increments. Zero increments. On the current cash balance in the company, how long can we last? And he came back with a number. We had lots of cash. He came back with a number which said 3 years. So is it 3 साल तो बहुत ठीक है फिर? Then we will not sack. So we didn't sack anybody during COVID. And it was, I would call that a brave decision. Okay? Other than sacking, I would call it a brave decision. And we simply said we will sack profit before we sack. We will sacrifice profits before we sacrifice people.
That's a very bold move, sir.
Okay. Now, as luck would have it, within 6-9 months, the market was back because, lockdown lifted, and then, there was a huge surge in demand for IT people.
Yeah.
There was this, huge infusion of liquidity in the market by the Fed.
Yeah.
Right. And we had the full organization with us without downsizing. So we were able to take advantage of that really quickly. It worked out for us. But at that time, there's no vaccination, there's no vaccine in sight, there is no cure in sight, you're locked down, and you're bajawing thalis on your balcony, right? It was a brave decision.
No, I think the toughest part is that even if you, for a moment, even if you think about letting the people go, they are not going to get jobs because the entire ecosystem.
As it is, they are tense about the disease.
Yeah.
This is the wrong time to let them go.
That's the time when they need your support the most.
Yes, exactly.
That's true. Very interesting, sir. I mean, while you
and then we took a sanction from the board. Said, give us a sanction 6.5 crores. We want to run a COVID relief operation for all employees and the families.
Yeah.
So we had this whole thing going where the call center staff were running a back office where you could dial in and say, look, I need access to a doctor, I need this medicine, I need a concentrator, I need a cylinder, I need a hospital bed. No matter where you were in India. We'd solve your problem. Now this expanded from employees to employees' families, to employees' relatives, to employees' extended families, the neighbors, friends. But for a long time in Delta, we were running this, and we lost people. We could not save everybody, but I think we were there for them. I think that the frontline staff were the most courageous. The drivers, the office boys who were going to people's homes, who were going to chemists, who were going to help people in hospital. I remember there was this one of our colleagues, and he didn't make it, unfortunately. He was in a remote area in Bihar. He'd gone home and he got COVID, and somehow we put an oxygen concentrator from our Calcutta office into an Innova And that guy drove 17 hours or 14 hours and to his village and got it there. The boy didn't make it, unfortunately, but we did our best. But there have been many instances like this. So I think our frontline staff, the drivers, the office boys, they were the most courageous. हम तो phone recording कर रहे थे.
Of course, true. Yeah, people in the field are facing the brunt all the time. No, it's a very, very touchy story, sir. And while you started with the fact that you don't have stories of courage, it is proven that you have lots of them, right? And courage comes up in different moments, right? Whether it's taking a risky decision, whether it's, helping someone, not sure whether you can help and, end up helping a lot, right? So it always inspires and so many people you have impacted through these brave decisions. So the beauty of courage is it spreads, right? You are encouraging a lot of other people to learn from you, to be able to, be courageous themselves as well. As a parting message, sir, any words of wisdom, anything which you'd want to leave with the listeners based on your experience for young kids, what should they look up?
I call myself a coward and a duckworm. I always take the lower risk option. But if push comes to shove, you find courage inside you.
Yeah.
And I think, so all of us have courage inside us. It surfaces when it's required.
Yeah. When the going gets tough, the tough gets going, right?
You don't have a choice, actually.
That's true. Thank you very much, sir. It's been a pleasure hearing about your stories. I'm sure some of these stories would not have been known to a lot of people. A lot of people will get inspired. IIT entrance, CAT, clearing it multiple times, doing it on your own, without any support of technology, any coaching center, and with your friends not being around, doing it along with your task. I think there are multiple stories of courage which a lot of people at different facets of their life will really take inspiration from. Thank you very much, sir. Your time was really precious, and I appreciate that you shared your innermost stories with us.
Thank you so much for inviting me, sir. All the best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.